Welcome. You should be on page 37 of your pre-algebra quarter 2 notebook. We are looking at graphing using table of values. This is our second video for this particular lesson. So if you remember in our first lesson when we were going to graph using a table of values, the first thing we want to do is make sure that our equation is written in function format. Is the y by itself? And in this first one, I can see that y is alone. Y equals x minus 3. So I don't have to rewrite this equation. And that's why in the last video, I called that a maybe step. I might have to do it, I might not. Or maybe I have to do it, maybe not. Now, the next step is to create a table of values using the equation. And to do that, I'm going to start with my values of x. Now, when I look at my coordinate plane, I can see this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, that this particular graph goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can use values of x that go up to 5 and 0, of course, and -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So that's one thing to think about. I can choose any x, but it definitely has to fit on this graph. So I tend to like to stay close to the origin. So I'm going to use -1, 0, 1, and 2 as my x values. Now then I have to take these x values and I simply need to substitute them into this equation and solve for y. So the first one I'm going to do is x equals -1. I'm going to substitute it in. Y equals, instead of x, I'm going to put -1 minus 3. If I were to put that into Desmos or into a calculator, I would get y equals -4. So when x equals -1, y equals -4. Let's look at my next value, x equals 0. I'm going to substitute 0 in here and I get y equals 0 minus 3. If I put this into Desmos, a calculator, or just do it in my head, 0 minus 3 is -3. So when x is 0, y is -3. Fourth one, x equals 1. I'm going to substitute 1 for x, 1 minus 3. And I put that in the calculator, Desmos, or do this in my head, and y equals -2. And my final value of x equals 2. And so I'm going to substitute 2 in for x. I get y equals 2 minus 3, and y equals -1. So I've done step 1. Well, I didn't have to do step 1. I've done step 2. I've created my table of values. Step 3 is to plot these points, connect the dots, and make it a line. So let's plot these points. I have a value of -1, y, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my first point. 0 goes to 1, 2, -3. 1 goes to 1, 2, -2. And 2 goes to -1. So if I connect my dots, I'm going to add arrows to make it a line. And I have now plotted this equation on this graph. Let's look at number 2 now. Number 2 is y equals 2x minus 4. So do I have to do that first step? Is this written in function form? Well, it is. Y is all by itself. So step 1, did not have to do. I do need to get some values of x and y. So I'm going to just choose, I think I'm going to stay positive this time. I'm going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 0, 1, actually only to 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's get those solved. I have x equals 0. I'm going to substitute that in. So this is 2 times x. 2 times 0 minus 4. Order of operations now, or put that in a calculator. I get 0 minus 4, and y equals -4, because we always multiply first. Now, if I do x equals 1, substitute that in, I get 2 times 1 minus 4, y equals 2 minus 4. So I'm going to multiply first, and y equals -2. Third value, x equals 2. substitute that in. Y equals 2 times 2 minus 4. Multiply first. 4 minus 4. Oh, that's some nice easy subtraction. 4 minus 4 is 0. And I've got x equals 3 as my final value. Substitute the 3 in. 2 times 3 minus 4. Y equals 6 minus 4. And when x equals 3, y equals 2. Alrighty, last step, I'm going to plot these points. When x is 0, y is negative 1, 2, 3, 4. When x is 1, y is negative 2. When x is 2, y is 0. And when x is 3, y is 2. And there is my line. Do your best to make it as straight as possible. Add your arrows. And I've got myself this equation graphed on that coordinate plane. Alrighty, we're going to do this last one. And we want to look at step 1 and think, is my y by itself? Well, no, y is over here with this minus 1/3 x. So I need this to go to the opposite side. So I'm going to use my opposite operation. Minus plus is my opposite operation. And move my 1/3 x plus 1. So now I have an equation, but you're going to see that I have a fraction coefficient. And when I have a fraction coefficient, I want to look at that denominator and I want to use values of x that are multiples of the denominator. So, well, I always want to use 0, that's for sure. But other numbers I might want to use are negative 3, because negative 3 and 3, negative 3 is divisible by 3. So I have negative 3. I'm always going to use 0. I'll use 3, and then I'm going to use 6. So notice 3 can evenly go into all of these. So substituting in, I get, let's see, x equals negative 3. I'm going to substitute that in. Y equals 1/3 times negative 3 plus 1. If I put 1/3 times negative 3 into Desmos, I am going to notice that that equals negative 1 plus 1, and y equals 0 when x is negative 3. Now we're going to look at our next one. X equals 0, so I'm going to substitute that in. Y equals 1/3 times 0 plus 1. Well, any number times 0 is 0, so y equals 1. I'm going to slide this down a little. I'm going to do x equals 3. Now I have y equals 1/3 times 3 plus 1. When I put 1/3 times 3 into Desmos, I will notice that y equals 1 plus 1, because 1/3 times 3 is 1. So y equals 2. And my final one is x equals 6. Of course, that's not going to even be able to be plotted with this 5, but we're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to do y equals 1/3 times 6 plus 1. Putting 1/3 times 6 in the calculator, I will get y equals 2 plus 1, and y equals 3. So my last step, of course, is to plot these points. I've got negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 0. When x is 0, y is 1. When x is 1, 2, 3, y is 2. And if I had a 6, we'll just kind of draw a 6 line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Y is 3. And you can see that goes up in a line, and we're going to just connect the dots, and we are done. So that's going to be all for this video. In our final video of this lesson, we will be looking at other graphing using table of values topics. Thanks so much.